What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex. In this video, I kind of just want to rant a little bit on Doom: The Dark Ages. I just came off of playing Doom 2016. 8 years later, did it for a video on my third channel, and so I was already in the Doom mood. I picked that game specifically because, we all knew that this game was going to be announced at the Xbox event, and it's one of those games that I think was received so well online when it was first shown. The last couple of days, we've looked at the Dragon Ages of the world and the Quidditch Champions, and some of them don't have the greatest fan feedback, from them. Doom is about what you would expect, right? Doom is riding high right now. There's been some controversy, with the studio here and there, but in general, Doom 2016, phenomenal game. Doom Eternal, I think, took everything and ramped it up to an 11. A near perfect game, honestly. And then now you have this game, and again, I really believe it's one of the better games that they showed at the Xbox event. I think, coming out in 2025, it easily has the potential to be one of the best games in 2025. 2025 is stacked, unlike maybe a lot of other years. I think when we look back in the history books, 2025 is going to look pretty good. But do I think it can take out GTA? Probably not. Different kind of game for sure. But I'm so unbelievably excited. And it's interesting because Doom, I think, is such a rock-solid foundation and a rock-solid strategy of how you make these games, right? Like, they have their secret sauce of how the movement works, how getting from level to level works, how they stack enemies on top of each other, right? Kind of introduce enemies and then they become a part of the rotation. It has such a great system in place. And then to do what they're doing now, to take it back in time, really a little bit like Gears of War in a way, right? Like they're kind of going the prequel route in the Xbox showcase, not in all, but in a couple of these games. So going back in time, not just kind of as an origin story to the Doomslayer, but also an origin story to now we have an excuse to give him, number one, you give him a cape, which that's how you make him look even cooler. Number two, you give him brand new weapons. You got brand new enemies. Now, some of them look very much in line with the enemies we've already faced, but medieval-like, right? So this is a good excuse to introduce or to inject a little bit of flair, a little bit something different that the franchise didn't have before. Namely, and I would say, we mentioned the enemies and a couple other things. The dragon. The dragon thing is pretty interesting. Those are probably the two parts, towards the end of the trailer, you had literally a Power Rangers type monster situation going on. I didn't mind that, when watching it. I have seen if there's one thing people were a little worried about with the trailer, it's that. That's just based off my, research of the common man that had something to say on it. I think it's going to be cool. I think if they can make Doom and the strategy and the formula that works with Doom, if they can do that in 5,000 foot body, and you're not going to be in it for that long, I imagine, right? If you can do it and you can do it well, I think it's going to turn out well. And then you have the dragon. Reminds me of Lair, if you remember the terrible PS3 game, but in a good way, because I think this could actually work out unlike Lair. So I'm excited, honestly, for both of those aspects of it. And then beyond that, it was what you needed to see, because again, Doom is so fundamentally sound. You just need to kind of see, well, what are they going to change up with, the weapons or the enemy design or whatever. And in such a short time, you show a gun that literally crushes up a bone, a skull of an enemy or of something, right? And then it shoots it out into little fragments at the enemies. Now, the thing that my initial takeaway, especially upon watching, I've watched it 4 or 5 times now. A big thing that I thought is, looks so impressive, and you can tell it's, at least my opinion of it, I don't know this for sure, it doesn't seem like it's on a hard difficulty, and it doesn't seem like it's where the enemies are really coming at you. A lot of the things that they showed in this, whatever trailer you want to call it, gameplay trailer or whatever, a lot of it, I think, was based more on showing the fundamentals, showing the shield, showing how you can use it to block, showing how you can use it, Captain America, right? Throwing it and returning it to you, which, by the way, is sick and incredible. Showing the spear thing, right? Those are things that I think can get you excited, where it's okay, well, this is where it's going, right? These are the kind of weapons you're going to use. This is kind of how you're going to play. But also, you can think in your head, for anybody that's played Doom 2016 or Doom Eternal, as I said, one of the things that makes it so special is you don't play those games the same in the beginning versus, at the end, because you're going to be facing new combinations of enemies, more enemies than you were. The traversal or just, the movement of your character is going to be wildly different. You're going to have to move more often right towards the end than the beginning. So, what we saw, I think, was just kind of focusing on, hey, here's a couple things that are new. We want you to focus on them. So we don't want to make it too hard to kill a specific enemy. We don't want to do this or that, right? We want you to focus on, hey, focus on this gun, focus on the shield blocking, focus on the shield throwing, focus on that, not the sheer, you know what I mean? Not the magnitude of all of the enemies and the strategy that you're going to have to, do in order to take them all out. I mean, that's a big part of Doom as well, right? Like being in an arena, switching the weapons you want to fly, picking which weapon you think works best against which enemy. I mean, that's such a fundamental part. You can imagine that. And that is where trust comes in, right? Like you have to trust them, at least right now. You have to trust them that is going to be a big part of the game, at least until we get like a 15-minute, kind of gameplay presentation, which I'm sure will happen, down the road. So I'm just really pumped and excited that we actually got to see it. And we saw an okay amount of it. I mean, they conveyed a lot of info to us, relayed a lot of info to us in such a short time. You get different locations, you kind of get the setup, you get what probably is like the opening cinematic, right, of him standing there again with a really badass cape, and then picking up the shotgun, which of course is like the greatest medieval weapon you can think of, and then the shield that goes attached to his arm. Like you can tell that's the beginning, at least I imagine it is, right? And then you do everything else, and you show some gimmicks or mechanics, you show some new stuff, you show some new weapons. So they didn't have to, I mean, they could have just been a full-on cinematic. It definitely wasn't, full-on cinematic. So I'm impressed by it. It actually is kind of depressing that we have to wait till, God knows when. I imagine it's like a late 2025 game. That could be wrong. It could come out in the first half, but I just imagine you're going to have to wait another, year and a couple months until you end up getting this game. However, Doom Eternal, that came out in the springtime. So maybe we can get it March, April, May. I guess that's possible, but I'll assume the latest possibility. And then if they give it to us earlier, I'll be really, really pumped. But yeah, I don't think people are sleeping on it. It's gotten a lot of views. The likes to dislikes are, outrageously good. But I wouldn't say like nobody's talking about it, but I just feel like looking back, it really impressed me. It really stood out. I think it's, if you know how good Doom is, right, like it's not that big of a surprise that it stood out. And, looking back at it a few weeks after all these events have happened, Doom is easily one that stood out to me the most. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on. I hope to see you all on the next one.